Good evening. Have you ever watched or witnessed or read about a young person that was being recruited to play college sports or participate in some type of collegiate activity? The whole process can be a bit glamorous. Young men, 18 years old, getting an opportunity to go away from home and do things that he never thought he would do. Or some men have been dreaming about it the whole time they were in school. And this process looks to be all about the kid's future. But what if I told you that being recruited to go play sports in college is not as glamorous as it looks? What if I told you that over the course of 5 years, the CDC and external researchers go about and do injury reports for the NCAA? What if I told you that 1,503,370 injuries occurred during that 5-year period? What if I told you colleges do not offer these young men health insurance or life insurance? Now, I said all that to try to get your attention to something that's going on in college sports. There's a debate that's going, and I'm going to try to persuade you guys to look at the fact that college athletes need to be compensated. When you look at a team like Alabama, how much you reckon Nick Saban's being paid? Would you believe I told you he was making $11 million a year, plus bonuses? Would you believe that he has health insurance and life insurance paid for by the school? Would you believe that his coaching staff, which is 15 guys, 3 of the 15 is making $1 million a year? His defensive coordinator, his offensive coordinator, and his assistant head coach. The other 12 have to split $6.4 million between the other 12. So they're being paid, and they have health insurance, and they have life insurance. But the young men that create this wealth, they don't. They don't have life insurance. They don't have health insurance. I'm telling you this because I feel like if there is any way possible, you ought to consider writing your congressman, writing the schools, and letting them know that, you think that these young men deserve something during their collegiate year or after their collegiate playing time. Tonight I'm going to show you how much money is being earned. I'm going to show you the number of kids being hurt in each sport that they're on. Well, 4 of their 15 sports. I'm going to show you how I think they ought to set up a payment program for them. And then I'm going to conclude by trying to persuade you to do something. Get up, write your congressman. Get up, write your schools, and help these young men out. Now, I went to NCAA finance online and found the top paying schools and all of the schools as what they earn per year, per season. I had to take the year off because it's per season. They do not get paid for bowl games and playoff games. That money goes directly to the NCAA. Texas Tech was a top earning school during this time. Texas Tech earned $194,388,450 per season. That's for ticket sales alone. Texas Tech, then it's Texas. Texas at $187,981,158 per season. Ohio State, $170,000 $170,789,665. Alabama, $164,009,745. Sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? It's a lot of money for just 16 games. They don't even play 16. They play 12. 12 games a year. Now, if that wasn't the end of it, people will say, well, they don't make enough money to take care of all the other sports. Do you know how much money that they get for these media packages just to play on TV? The schools are paid. Here's where the money is. In the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, they have a $545 million payment plan for the media per year. Per year. It's a 6-year contract. You do 6 times 5, and what do you get? That's a bunch of billions of dollars. That's $3 billion something just for the SEC. The ACC gets $401 million a year. Just from the media package, Turner Broadcasting and the other Fox News, Fox that plays the college sports on TV. Just for that alone. I got a better surprise. How much do you think Ted Turner pays college basketball, for the media package from the beginning of it all the way through to March Madness? $8.8 billion. $8.8 billion for a 6-year contract. There's plenty enough money to take care of these kids. So when I go to the meat of my discussion this evening, I want you to think about those things as I move on through to the facts of the whole case here. When we look at college football, you see the glory and the glamour of the game, but do you see incidents like this? When you start to look at these young men, you start looking at their ages. And I put their age by each one of them because I want you to think about something when you look at these guys. Josh Malbon was a sophomore at Oklahoma State. That's Josh. He became their #1 inside linebacker and found out that he had built so much muscle up around his heart that his heart could no longer pump blood properly through his body. He had to give up playing football. Do you think Josh got to finish college? No, he did not. At the end of the year, his scholarship was not renewed. Then we moved to Stanley Dow. Stanley Dow is this fellow right here, played at the University of South Carolina. Stanley was one of the best defensive linemen coming through college football at that time. Stanley had an injury during his sophomore year, and the coaches and the team doctor told him it was a stinger. And, it's just pain. You can pay on through it because it's just a stinger. And he did. He led the NCAA in tackles. He led the NCAA in tackles for losses. At the end of the year, he was an All-American, and he was going into his junior year. Kansas City Chiefs, I already talked to him. They were going to draft him first. Already had his locker, helmet, everything set up. They just couldn't sign him because he wanted to play out his junior year. Well, thinking that he just had a stinger, he played on out his junior year, led the NCAA again in tackles and in tackle for losses. When he got ready, before he could leave college, let me get this straight, before he could leave college, he went to the NFL doctors. They have to check you out to make sure you're healthy enough to play in the game of football. Found out that he had a spinal injury. That stinger that they told him was just a stinger turned out to be a spine injury. And because it was neglected, he lost everything. Because he had already been drafted, he couldn't go back to school. So he is the only one so far that couldn't go back to school because he had already left for the NFL or chose to leave for the NFL. That's his story. This is Ern Kennard. Y'all forgive me on the pronunciation of that name. Ern Kennard, She sustained a leg and back injury while she was rowing at the University of Colgate. When you go to these big universities, they always want to know if your family have health insurance on you or if you're under the Medicaid and program, while you're at home. They will continue you on that program because colleges are not required to carry health insurance on your child. And you're going to find out that if your child is injured like Erin was, her insurance paid a third and Colgate didn't pay anything. They left her with an $80,000 medical bill that was compounding over her sophomore year. And she had to leave school. And her scholarship was not renewed because of her injuries. She was 19 years old. And I'm going to stop on Tyrone Pietro. Tyrone Pietro was a wide receiver who had come into his own. He made the game-winning catch in the Alabama game versus Mississippi State, where he caught the ball behind the defensive player back and fell in the end zone and kept hold of the ball while he was on the ground for Alabama to overcome the deficit with Mississippi State. And they won. 2 weeks later against the Florida Gators, this happened to it. He fractured both his tibia and his fibia. And he ended up having 11 surgeries trying to repair his legs. He was never able to get back to his former self. He was a junior in college. They did not renew his contract. At the end of the year, he lost the rest of his contract. 1 year left to graduate. When I tell you that the college sport process is a form of servitude, I want you to think about how they did slaves. And I want you to really think about, Master didn't just have all slaves go out and work in the fields. He trained some of them. He trained some to work in the kitchen. He trained some to be blacksmiths. He trained some to be carpenters. He gave them trades and they got no pay. This is the same thing you see happening in college sports. They're given trades. Some go to school to be teachers, lawyers, doctors, whatever they choose to do with their career. They're being given a trade, but they're not being given any pay. When you look at what these young people endure with their sports, somewhere in your heart you have to consider this fact. If the coaches can be paid and have life insurance and health insurance and bonuses, if the athletic director and the school dean and everyone else can be paid because of what these young people do, they're getting paid because of what these young people do, their salaries ride on them. Why can't they set up a program for these kids? Here's my solution. I know it ain't the most perfect solution, but here's mine. I say for each year a young person completes, and that word is complete, there is a $25,000 policy set up for him that is there. He can't collect that policy as long as he is playing sports. He just keep playing and the money just keep going to this point. The next year he completes, it's $25,000 more. The next year if he completes, it's $25,000 more. If he decides to go pro, he has $75,000. If he gets injured, he has $75,000 to start his career, his life off with. He has something for all that he's done for his university. My plan is not a perfect plan, but it's looking into an idea of how you can start figuring out to pay these young people for what they bring into the school. Now, people say, well, what about smaller schools? I think that there should always be a base program, a base payment plan set up. Now, what that base is going to be determined by what the school bring in on athletics. And that should be set up by someone other than the school, because the school can report money in different ways. And I'm going to go through the last part of my speech here about how the schools can report money. All right. Cover it. When you look at this board here, what you're looking at are the numbers that I gave you on what they got for the NCAA for all the way through March Madness. The $8.8 billion that they received just in media package. Just in media package. That doesn't count the tickets sold to go and attend these events. Here's the Big Ten's $440 million a year annually. Here's the SEC, they're $457.8 million, and so on and so forth with the ACC, and they're 403. I said 401, but it's 403. Now, when you start looking at how they move money, the schools, these are the top earning schools, and these are the bottom earning schools. And I took them like that there so that you can see the differences in pay and what they earn. They're still earning almost $200 million a year. They're still earning almost $200 million a year. That's just off of ticket sales. If they set aside $350,000 per year, they will cover the cost of football players. If they set aside $690 some odd $1,000 a year, they will cover all the athletes at their university. That's less than $1 million, just over $500,000 a year to invest in these kids per year for their career. When we sit back and we start to look at these children and what they go through, would you believe that only 33% of college graduates actually go and work into their field? 33% of college graduates actually go and do the job that they trained to do. Would you believe that that number, that 33%, changes to about 17% if they're injured during college? Most young men, when they're injured during college, young men and women, the struggle becomes, how do I pay for school? For some, they find a way to pay for school, and for most, they either in and out of school, in and out of school, in and out of school. And I'm saying that to say this here: we need to consider what we're doing to these 18 and 19-year-olds' body physically. It's hard enough to get a job in the United States right now with a pre-existing condition. Imagine coming in with a broke leg like Petro's. Imagine coming into a job and they already know that your leg's messed up. They don't want you on the health insurance. You're a liability. They don't want you at the job. Imagine these kids and the difficulties that they face during this time if they are injured. So when I ask you to take a stand for these kids, I really need you to consider what you would do and how you would do it. I said write your congressman and write the school board. Thank you for your time.